Hello, we're back. Part 2, we're on page 412, and we're masking images, which we've kind of already done a layer mask before, so this is just more of that information. So with the selection tool selected, we're going to click the kayak image, that first one we placed in, to select it. And we're going to click the mask button in the control panel. So click that button. And a mask is like you have a picture frame and a photograph underneath, and your picture frame is smaller than your photograph, and you can move your picture around to see what fills into the frame, and that's kind of what a mask is. If we go to our layers button and click locate object, it finds it that we have a clipped and a linked file, which is what we have here, and it's under a clip group. So to learn more about this, we're going to edit clipping mask on page 413. So we're going to make sure we're clicked on the clipped group. And if you click here on it with your selection, you have the edit clipping path, which is like your frame, your mask, and edit contents, which is what's underneath. So we're going to click the edit contents button. As you can see, it has that X around it. That means we're editing the contents, and then that green highlight is in our sub layer. So let's go back to edit clipping path in the control panel. And notice the clipping path is now selected. When object's masked, you either edit the mask or the object that's masked, or both, using these buttons to select which you want to edit. So with the Edit Clipping Path button selected in the control panel, we're going to go to Outline. So make sure we're in Edit Clipping Path, View Outline, and you can see the outline of everything. As you can see, this is our outline, and then the image is actually underneath. So with the selection tool, we're going to drag the top middle bounding point till it's selected to a measurement label shows a height of approximately 3.25. So take our cursor and down to 3. 2.5. Let's go to View GPU Preview, and you notice that it has actually been adjusted. We're going to click Transform, or the XYZ, whatever, or HW. Or you can go to Window Transform if this panel is not available to check. We want our reference point to be in the center, and these 9 dots. Make sure the constrained proportions is clicked so it looks like a lock. Well, it's actually off. We want it off, sorry. We change the width to 3.5. And your height, if your height is not exactly 3.25, we can just make that adjustment now. And in our control panel, let's go to the Edit Contents. So it's going to adjust the kayak.jpg and not the mask. So with our selection tool, we're going to carefully drag the bounding, drag from the bounds of the mask down a little bit and release the bounding button. So we're just going to shift it around. Notice we are actually moving the image and not the mask. And with the Edit Contents button, we can still do many transformations like rotation and whatnot. So when you make sure it's all in there, you can deselect and we'll move on to masking an object with text, which is super cool. With the selection tool selected, drag the green leaf image, text.jpg, from the right side of the artboard onto the top of aisle. So we're going to take this, toggle this down, toggle that down, and we're just going to drag it over the text that says aisle. We're going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back, so that aisle is on top of it. With the image still selected, shift-click the aisle text to select them both. and right click over the selected content, or control click, and we're going to make a clipping mask, and it masks it over there. So next is, with the text still selected, we're going to open the graphic styles panel, and we are going to do the drop shadow graphic style, which is set, and it gives a nice drop shadow to it. Deselect, do a Command S. Next we're going to do is create an opacity mask. So it's kind of like a layer mask, but with the opacity functions and whatnot. So in the layers panel, we're going to kind of open up, we're going to collapse all this content that we have now, and we're going to be on the background layer, which you have kind of the water and whatnot. With the selection tool, click the water image on the artboard and choose Align to Artboard, and we want Horizontal Align Center. And we want the Vertical Align Center, which kind of nests it right there. So in the rectangle tool, we're going to select it from our Tools panel, and we're going to click anywhere, and we're going to take the width of 9 and the height of 8, and we'll click OK. This is going to become actually our mask. We're going to select D on our keyboard while that's selected, and it's going to default it out to a black stroke and a white fill. With our selection tool, we're going to select the horizontal align center and the vertical align bottom buttons. With the shift key, we're going to select both this rectangle and the water image behind it. We're either going to go to Window, Transparency, or find the Transparency panel, which is right here. And we're going to click Make Mask. And after clicking the Make Mask button, now the button now shows a release. If you were to click that button again, it will no longer be masked. And that's our mask, and that's our image. With our Transparency panel, we're going to shift click the mask thumbnail, and it kind of hides it if we ever need to hide it to look at it to disable the mask. It only temporarily disarms it, but it doesn't take away the mask. So we're going to select the mask thumbnail on the right side of the Transparency panel, and you see that orange on the outside, that means it's selected. And with our click this, if it isn't selected on the artboard, make sure to select it with the bounding box with that orange, that red right there. If you go to our layers panel, we notice it says opacity mask appears indicating the object is still being masked, and that's if we open up the layers. So with the mask still selected on the Transparency panel on the artboard, click the fill color in the control panel and select a white to black gradient. So as you see, it already masks it, so you see part of it, it's transparent, and part of it is not. So we're going to make sure the fill box is selected right up here, so it's not like this, it's this. And we're going to take the gradient tool from the Tools panel, and as you can see the slider box right here, what we're going to do is click and drag to just below the bottom of the mask shape, hold down Shift, and go up. Doing this, it kind of pushes the masks up a little, and you can kind of play around with where you want it to be masked. And I think that looks about good. So we're going to click on the Transparency panel. As you can see, it kind of has a gradient right there. So in the transparency panel, click the image editing thumbnail so you're no longer editing the mask. So we're going to click on this in the orange bounding box there. We're going to click the link icon between the image thumbnail and the mask. It lets us move just the image but not the mask. So we use our selection tool. We can kind of drag down to different parts as you notice it, kind of arrange it. Next, we're going to link this up back again so now we don't accidentally move it. Then we're going to Object Arrange, Send to Back. And we're going to deselect and do a Command S to save. So the next part is sampling colors and placed images. Saving. So in the Layers panel, make sure all the layers are collapsed and visible. So it says Discover Green Isle. So we're going to select the text green. And we're going to make sure the fill box is selected, which is there. And do keyboard shortcut I or find your eyedropper tool from your keyboard. And we're going to shift click a green area on one of the lily pads to sample it and apply that green color to the text. So I'm going to zoom in. And if I hold down shift and I click, it changes the color of what I'm sampling. And it's pretty cool. So that's going to be it for part 2 of this video, and I'll see you for our next video.